and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast. Zach, I'm sorry we're doing this. You have no idea what's going on, but everybody has been wondering, what are we going to do for DeVito week, Tommy Cutlets week? Well, he's coming to Philly. Mr. Cutlets, we are here at Farina DeVito, the best cutlets in the city. They just won the Tasty Award for the best hoagies in the city. We are going to get their DeVito special and try it out. Let me get one DeVito special, please.
What the fuck is that?
Like a cutlet. I mean, like a.
You want cutlets on a roll or something?
What would be like what he is? I don't know, like ketchup and mustard or something. DeVito, Tommy Cutlets.
What the fuck is that?
You know, the Giants guy. Nothing?
I got you. Hold on.
All right.
You want what? Cutlets? Why?
Yeah, on a roll.
All right.
We like Giants colors, maybe.
Giants colors.
Red. Oh, I guess that's ketchup,
like
right?
roasted ketchup.
Yeah, why not?
All right. What else?
I feel like this will be like what he's like as a player.
Yeah, no problem. Fucking Tommy Cutlets. Yeah. Tommy Cutlets. Yeah, Kath, ring this up. One jerk-off special. Is that what you wanted?
I mean, I guess. That looks like, could be worse, right?
I mean, I wouldn't eat that. Hold on. I got you. Meet the big dog. Homemade cutlets, homemade hot sauce, blue cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion, black pepper. Tell Tommy Cutlets the Eagles said hello.
Oh, I like that. Let's give it a taste. There's only room for one Italian football hero in Philadelphia. I'm pretty sure it's Big Dom. Hello, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast again. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Deniz Selman, the professor is here. We got a lot to talk about. Zach, I think your heart was you were a little bit nervous throughout that. How are you doing?
So much better than I anticipated. I was worried. I was worried there was going to be something that was culturally inappropriate. That there was going to be DiNucci 2.0. And
one of the classics.
That was terrific. That was entertaining. And it also gave me a new place to go. I have a cutlet place. That's my number one. But I got to try there. I haven't been there.
Well, shout out to Jason from Farina DeVito. He was fantastic.
Yes.
Like I told him, he would be much better at my job than I am at his, for sure. And also, Rachel texted me this morning. She was having the leftovers, the Big Dom sandwich. She said this Farina sandwich is fire. So
I like that.
That place is great. Check it out. It's on like 3rd and Catherine. So, check out Farina DeVito. Thank you to those guys for helping us out. I will say, though, Zach, we've got a long show to get to. The DeVito-related surprises are not done yet. The sickos need to stay tuned until the very end for a special DeVito situation. Deniz, how are you?
I'm doing well. I was mainly curious how long that was going to be.
Yeah.
But it was
we're
great.
rushing to get you in here so you can sit for another 2.5 minutes. But we got a lot to talk about. We have not dug really into the specifics of this Giants team yet. We will do that with you. We're going to get, of course, to Goose Wisely, all that good stuff, everything related to the matchups. But Zach, first, tell us, Stone Cold Newsman-wise, what happened at the NovaCare complex yesterday. You had a chance to hear from Matt Patricia for the first time, and there's some news on the Eagles injury front.
Yeah, let's start with the injuries here because it is relevant from the perspective of looking at this game. Avonte Maddox, who the Eagles started his 21-day practice window, we knew that was happening. What we didn't know what was going to happen was that he was a full participant in practice, and that's a good sign for a player returning. So
you think he plays?
Now, maybe they give him a little bit more time here, but I wouldn't rule it out. When you're a full participant on a Thursday, that's a good sign. Also,
on a Thursday, Wednesday.
Yes, Thursday, Wednesday. Well said. Cam Jurgens was a full participant. I don't quite know yet his status, but that's a good sign. The DNPs, Zach Cunningham, Landon Dickerson, Nicholas Morrow, Darius Slay, and Devontae Smith. So the Eagles have two linebackers, neither one of whom practiced.
The curse of Christian.
Yeah. So basically, well, I shouldn't say two linebackers. They're two starting linebackers. Neither one practiced. So then Shaq Leonard and Ben Van Sumeren would be the top linebackers unless there's a recovery from Morrow or Cunningham. So we'll pay close attention to the injury report today. Darius Slay still out with that knee injury. Landon Dickerson, we know about the thumb. Devontae Smith, knee injury here. My understanding is this occurred during the game on Monday night. He's been dealing with something in previous weeks. This might not be a lingering injury. This might be a new one. We'll monitor that as well. So that's the injury update. Now, what we talked about on the show yesterday.
Very quickly, though, did you get to see practice yesterday?
I did, yes.
Who was at left guard?
I was actually watching a different thing at that point, so I did not see the left guard thing. But my understanding was Steen.
It was Steen, not Sua. Okay, that's interesting.
And that's the side that he never played in training camp, right? Left guard.
He never played left guard in training camp. It was left tackle or right guard. But he did play. He's played on the left side, so it's interesting.
And he came in for one play at left guard in this last game.
Yes.
Yeah. So
but that was with Sua already on the field.
Right.
But
Patricia.
Wait. But Steen. So hold on here. I apologize here. Anyways, so Matt Patricia. Let's get to Patricia. We were curious how Patricia was going to be, if he was going to be the Patriots version of Matt Patricia, or if he was going to be a new version. I shouldn't say a new version, but if he was going to be either warm and cuddly or humble, however you want to frame it. He certainly was not arrogant. He certainly was.
Told you.
Yeah, he certainly did not. He answered questions, actually quite succinctly, probably more succinctly than he had to sometimes. Like he went long. He was
less succinctly.
Yes, less succinctly. I apologize. More expansively. He was he was friendly. He was reflective. I thought his answer
interesting aesthetics. I thought not
the glasses down.
Yeah, we were saying
looked like a grandmother.
He looked well. No, I think he looked like in Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf pretending to be the grandmother. Perfect. Is what it looked like. Yeah.
And I thought his answer to the Slay situation was interesting. He did not downgrade it. Did not make it seem like there was nothing there. What he said is that Slay and him have been great since he came to Philly. He said he gave Slay a big hug before the press conference yesterday. That Slay has kind of helped him really in his adjustment, and he has helped Slay. And he said that he's kind of evolved and grown since whatever happened in Detroit, and that people are never their perfect versions of themselves. I found that to be him taking responsibility for it.
I thought he came across as likable, no doubt. I actually thought that what was most interesting was the way that he was reflecting on the final drive, which obviously he did not do a good job in the moment of calling those plays, but talking about some of the reasons behind why, maybe he called the play he did to have Bradbury covering Jackson Smith and Jigba on the game-winning touchdown, but it was not like it was not the defensiveness that you would get from Nick Sirianni right now if anybody doth question anything he does on offense. It was like, taking responsibility and also without giving away the secrets, sort of explaining what his thought process was.
Yes. Yeah. He had said on the previous play, on that second down, they saw something there that he didn't like. It made him change his decision on third down, and he would have liked that one back.
I thought he was talking about the first down, but it was cover 4 on first down. It was 2-man on second down, and then on that third down, it was cover 1 with Sidney Brown rotating down to cover the back. I've heard some people say it was cover 1 robber. It wasn't. There were two snaps to cover 1 robber on that drive, but that last play, I just think it's a weird usage of the safety, the high safety on 3rd and 10 to scream down and cover the back.
Especially with a guy like Sidney Brown, who, like, if it's a more experienced player, if he is reading what's going on, maybe he comes off of that. But Sidney Brown's just going to be flying.
Yeah, they really let the offense determine that, though. Sidney Brown's the left safety, Reed Blankenship's the right safety, and it's completely by formation who rotates and who goes up. So that's been the way it is all year.
No cover 2 buster.
Oh man, two buster. Would love to see us snap a two buster at some point.
Real quick, I just want to circle back. I don't feel comfortable saying the Steen thing at left guard. Yesterday was an abbreviated portion of practice that we were able to see. It was not a typical Thursday practice, and I don't want to jump the gun on the Steen on the Steen thing yet. That is something that I had heard, but it's not something that I'm ready to say. Like Steen's the left guard this week. I think Bo's gonna be at practice today. You'll get a better look at the offensive line alignment than what they showed yesterday.
And this will be the first game. Remember, Landon Dickerson was drafted with injury concerns. And just a reminder to everybody, this is year 3, right? And this is the first game that he's missing due to injury. The only game he's missed was the COVID game when the whole team missed the game.
Okay.
Although he is the new Jason Peters, and then he is bound to miss one snap a game relatively often.
And then Jalen Hurts yesterday. This was his first time speaking since that commitment comment on Monday night, and he basically said when he says we, he's talking about me, and he took a lot of ownership yesterday, at least publicly. He said all of it starts with me. That's something that I own. That's something I take responsibility in and never shied away from. I embrace that challenge. It's about when we go out there and do as a team. He said the last thing I want to do is leave the field and feel like I let my teammates down, feel like I didn't do enough for my teammates. That doesn't soothe me, so keep pressing on. He said, I asked him about the turnovers. He explained, some of them were unfortunate, some were unrhythmic, to use his word, ball security. But he basically said, I take ownership of all of it, starts with me, put it on me, we'll be fine. Also, that final interception, he said he was trying to take a shot downfield. It didn't work. On throwing to Gainwell, he said there's a lot of things he wishes he could have done differently. Whether he saw Gainwell, he said, no, I didn't. So he did not see Gainwell on that play.
Yeah, I think the Gainwell of that play is a red herring because the ball needs to come out quickly on that play. That's part of the deal. I think he should have been throwing to Devontae, or more likely or better, that shouldn't have been the play call.
Insane play calling the entire drive. The first 2 plays on the drive were both the play side on both of them were flat 7 concepts. So both routes. So on the first down, you have Dallas Goedert running a flat with AJ Brown running a 7 route to the sideline. That's where the ball goes.
Right.
Why? Like, why are you going to the sideline?
whole field.
You have 28 seconds
and three timeouts.
And then the second play, where he scrambled for 20 yards, was also a flat 7 concept with Kenny Gainwell running the flat and Dallas Goedert running the 7 to the same side.
No wonder the middle of the field
there's
was open
nothing
because there were no
happening.
receivers there.
Yeah, there are no it's funny. I heard Sheil and Sean Syed talk on their podcast this week about how many times the Eagles ran this Hank play, which is like a ball route, a curl, and then a flat. And actually, like on that last drive, would have been the perfect time to run plays like that, like something where you're threatening the middle of the field. And you're going to get some sort of soft coverage. They ended up playing cover 3 buzz on all those plays where one of the safeties is buzzing down. But the Eagles were completing that ball route throughout the game. The Julio Jones 4th down, and that was a shorter distance. But they completed the 18-yarder to Dallas Goedert in the first drive. And in the middle of the field, that was on Hank.
Best all game long was when it was like a quicker drop and the ball was coming out right on time.
Exactly. Wow. And there was no issue with pass protection the whole game. It was just... Yeah, I don't know. I know there's going to be like a segment for the offense, but
I know. I still can't get over that final drive, and it is
just maddening.
We'll get to the offense.
I actually think the play calls on the first 2 plays are less easy to defend than the one on the last play.
Okay.
I think that the play to AJ Brown was designed to score a touchdown, which it didn't. It just wasn't executed in a way where it looked like it. I think the design there was to get a touchdown, or pass interference, as we've been told.
Right.
But the first 2 plays, just inexplicable that you don't have some sort of middle of field threatening routes there.
All right. Why don't you tell us about AG1 first, Zach, and then we'll get to the defense.
Yeah, my wife's getting on me about my lack of sleep right now, and the reality is I need energy. It's so important, and when you walk into these supplement stores or grocery stores, whatever it may be, you see this whole row of supplements, and you're like, which one should I take? Which one will give me energy? Which one will give me gut health? Which one will support immune and brain health? And you know what? AG1 does that all at once. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more, but it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's just one scoop mixed in water once a day, every day. I'm 37 years old. Okay, I'm trying to have healthy aging here. That's important. I know I'm getting older. Because aging's a part of life. We all have to deal with it. And I don't think it should prevent me from doing the things that I love to do. I want to do the things that matter to me as long as possible, which is why AG1 every morning supports my brain, gut, and immune health. All it takes is one scoop, and I'm laying the groundwork for a healthier future. AG1 is the supplement I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here's your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at, drinkag1.com/Eagles. That's drinkag1.com/Eagles. Check it out.
Zach Robin wants to know, is your wife getting on you about lack of sleep or about the fact that you get up at 4 a.m. like an animal?
Lack of sleep. She gets up early to go to the gym. Flex, literally, I suppose. But no, I didn't get in at like 12:30 last night. I guess she got up and I was still up. I was reading different things about the Eagles, and she was saying, you need to go to sleep.
I agree.
I said I can't turn my brain off, and yeah, it turned into a whole.
We got to
thing.
get you some medicinal help.
But I can tell you everything that was on the Eagles last night at 12:30. So
everything that was on the Eagles last night. What do you mean?
Like all the stories about the Eagles last night. Shout out to DJ Smith. I read his Matt Patricia story last night. Shout out to Martin Frank. I read his piece. So yeah, I was going through the.
I mean, there's got to be diminishing returns here, my friend. At some point,
I didn't read the Ben
Solak
Solak piece until this morning. That was a good one. I enjoyed that.
All right. Well, buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, and comedy and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. They've got flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, just
2 taps.
and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Tickets make great holiday gifts. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. If you want to go to the Eagles game on Christmas, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Also, real quick, the reason I was up late last night is I was writing a column that you can find on allphly.com. We just had a quick discussion about Patricia yesterday. If you want to find out more about what he said and some kind of analysis on his demeanor and what's ahead, you can check that out on allphly.com.
All right, well, let's talk about the matchup that is ahead of Matt Patricia on Monday against a very bad Giants offense, 31st in DVOA on offense. They, since having Tommy DeVito, Deniz, they have gone from like abjectly terrible to just very, very bad.
3-game win streak.
3-game win streak. They were 32nd in EPA per drive before DeVito. Now they're 27th. They're still 31st in success rate with and without him. He's just not turning the ball over as much as they had before. Not a lot of explosive plays, not a lot of points per drive, but they're also playing against a bad defense, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, second week in a row, we're going to have bad on bad on those late downs. Eagles are now 32nd in success rate on late downs. Giants offense is 30th on offense. And last week we talked about, is it going to be a get-right game for the Eagles or is it going to be a get-right game for the Seattle offense?
Right.
Seattle converted 4 third and 10s in that game.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
4 of 4, I believe.
On 3rd and 10, yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously they were stopped on a bunch of third downs too.
Yes.
But Yeah, and the Giants' average distance to go on third down last week was 10.7 yards.
Last week?
Yeah, against the Saints. So that would be a good formula for most teams to get off the field. But, yeah, we'll see.
What do you think about this matchup, Zach?
I think that
Have you done your DeVito homework?
Well, I did too much DeVito homework when he was the quarterback at Syracuse. I mean, this is kind of like for Jets fans, if Christian Hackenberg all of a sudden became like a sensation somewhere else. Tommy DeVito was this big-time recruit out of Jersey. Okay, Syracuse had just come off this like 10-win season in 2018, I believe it was. DeVito stepping into the starting role in 2019, and like he was fine, but they were horrible. They were horrible with DeVito. He transfers to Illinois. He was fine, but
There's
like
a difference between like a guy in college 5 years ago.
no,
turning
I
out to be
understand, but
okay,
it's just so odd for me to see like Tommy DeVito now as I know that Giants market well. I know the Giants fan base well. This fits right into kind of the Giants fan base.
What do you mean by that?
A local guy. I mean, a Jersey guy. Like that's so Jersey.
You're going to give me one of these?
No, I'm not. I'm not even referencing that at all. What I'm saying. So Giants are more of a so Jersey's more Giants territory. Long Island's more Jets territory, right? So if you have a guy from Long Island, I feel like that more hits the Jets fan base. If you have a guy from
Wayne Corbett.
if you have a guy from North Jersey, you know that's like the Giants' wheelhouse right there. So this and perhaps I'm saying that because I lived in North Jersey at the time, but I was surrounded by a lot of Giants fans. Shout out to Hoboken in 2012.
Shout out to Hoboken. They need that.
Or 2010, 2011.
All of Hoboken
Yeah.
has been waiting for the Zach Berman shout out.
I actually I saw Julia in Hoboken back then in 2010, 2011.
Okay.
She was in the area. So anyways, what I think of this matchup, I've watched.
Julia, do you remember that?
I was covering the Giants. Yeah.
Oh, how dare you say? Julia says, was it when you were working for the Giants? That Zach may. How dare you?
Anyways, so that's a non sequitur.
Which, by the way, means she doesn't remember that very well.
I'm not. I don't recall where you were working. I just remember. I remember getting dinner in Hoboken. Yeah, very memorable night.
Yeah, apparently not super memorable for Julia. Yeah, it's 15 years is a long time.
Anyways,
Zach's been walking around since Julia started at PHLY, just thinking that they had this mutual memory of when they had dinner together in Hoboken.
no, we went to high school together. We've known each other for a long time.
Meanwhile, she completely memory hold it.
That's okay. The Giants matchup here. Yeah, the Giants. I mean, this offense is bad. Joe Shane, who I liked when they hired him, I thought he did a poor job constructing the wide receivers on this roster. They have a lot of slot guys. They don't really have outside threats. They traded for Darren Waller, who's back now, but he's been in and out of the lineup. Saquon Barkley is he's their best threat, but even he hasn't been like as consistent as they need him to be. The offensive line, Evan Neal's not giving them what they were hoping for this year. Andrew Thomas is still like a top of the league player, but
Neal's injured too. So
this is a get. I think this is very much a get right game for the Eagles. If the Giants are scoring like high 20s, 30s against this Patricia defense this week, I'd be very, very concerned.
I mean, the biggest part of the get right here has to be for the defensive line.
Yes.
Because that offense gives up a ton of sacks. This defensive line is very much under scrutiny right now, given how little they have provided to the defense. And this should be an opportunity for them to get home.
Well, now that Matt Patricia has installed Moro Ojimo as the 3rd and 10 pass rush specialist, maybe we'll start seeing more. Tommy DeVito has been getting sacked on 18% of his dropbacks, which is crazy. And he's scrambling on, so that's the league high. And then he's scrambling a second highest in the league, 11% of the dropbacks. So that's 30% of his dropbacks where he doesn't end up throwing the ball.
Basically, every third dropback, yeah.
John Pugh was just absolutely terrible in the last game against the Saints.
Justin
Pugh, sorry.
Yeah.
John Pugh is like a guy from
local guy.
Yeah, John Pugh was like a guy in high school that our team played against.
Gotcha.
Got him confused with.
Yeah, Justin Pugh is a local guy. He's from Council Rock,
right?
And a Syracuse guy. Yep.
Yeah,
I think
short
his
arms.
quote this week is that his gym teacher and he said his stands are going to be like his gym teacher and his friends from high school booing him.
Yeah, it would be nice to see Jalen Carter have a good game against
Yes.
him. That's probably who he's going to be lining up against.
What are some of the other things that jumped out to you about Patricia's first game in charge?
Yeah, it's really obviously it's hard to change a lot, right? When you're taking over like that. One of the most obvious kind of personnel usage differences was how much big nickel and big dime we saw. I mean, Sidney Brown was on the field as the third safety for a lot of the snaps. I mean, most of the snaps in the game. There were only 7 snaps of normal nickel the entire game. That had been the predominant, personnel grouping that the Eagles had been using all year.
I read that more as cover for being so down at linebacker and not wanting to have both, Morrow and Shaq Leonard on the field so much, and
Right.
having like Sidney Brown as the extra box player instead of the linebacker. And given the state of the linebacker position right now, with Morrow also injured, I would imagine we'll see a little bit more of that. But if Avonte Maddox comes back, I'm curious how that all shuffles around.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting, especially because of the way that Sidney Brown and Kevin Byard are used on early downs. When it was in big nickel, you would have Sidney Brown in the box as the nickel player, and then Byard would be one of the high safeties. So Kevin Byard was playing as the left safety, Reed Blankenship as the right safety, with Brown in the box as the nickel on early downs. As soon as it got to late downs and it was big dime, Byard and Brown stay on the field, but they switched roles. So Sidney Brown becomes the high safety next to Blankenship, and Byard becomes the tight end matchup if it's going to be man. And he was the kind of the nickel opposite Bradley Roby, who also came on the field on those plays. So that was different. Another big difference was Eli Ricks was used only as an outside corner.
Right.
He was rotating basically every 2 series or so with Keely Ringo. And it was also really, it was sad in a way to see that even with Ringo and Ricks on the field the entire game, that Seattle was actively going after James Bradberry. I mean, 9 of the plays on that last drive were attacking one side of the field, and 7 of them was at Bradberry's side, including the plays that worked.
Now, I mentioned this on the show yesterday. I did think Bradberry did a decent job on Metcalf in particular because he was following him on both sides until that final drive.
I just don't think they were throwing very much.
Okay,
I think
fair.
it was more about their offensive game plan.
Yeah, Kenny Walker was running well. I hear you there. What did you guys think of Keely Ringo, though? I know you talked about it post-game.
Yeah, I was excited by Ringo. I would like to see more Keely Ringo down the stretch. I mean, if the Eagles can be the team they think they are and are able to take care of business these last 3 games with some relative ease, then I want to see a lot of Keely Ringo, and I want to see Eli Ricks too.
Yeah, I said on yesterday's show that the guys who've been performing best are the older guys, and the Eagles aren't developing their younger guys. I need to give them credit for this one because when we saw Ringo in camp and in the preseason, he looked lost at times, right? And I thought you can see what these past 3 months have done for his game.
Well, and you can just see the difference physically with him and James Bradberry. Like, James Bradberry is probably in the right place most of the time. He's like one of the smartest guys on defense, but it's just the way that they move.
Sure.
Like, there's a big difference right now.
Yeah, you really saw it on that last drive. I mean, there was a wrap concept early in that drive where Metcalf breaks inside. It was in 2-man coverage, and Bradberry has to know there that, I mean, he cannot give up that that inbreaker like that, and he just got cooked on that route. And then I think it was like
a basketball crossover on that one.
It was really bad. And then but again, something good about Bradberry, he completely read the tosser play where it was 2 slants, and he read that, he undercut it, and he almost intercepted it. That crazy catch where it was like rolling around. And that, we could be talking about Bradberry as the hero, jumping a route with his savvy and all of that, but that's just the way the
But
ball
this goes
bounces.
back to Bo's point too, and I know we don't need to belabor this because we have a lot on this matchup, but I vividly remember doing the shows in March when they brought back Bradberry and Slay, and the conversation, and Bo was on top of this. Like, if you're going to be old on the line of scrimmage, be old at quarterback. Like, don't be old at corner where your speed and your change of direction is so important. So when you talk about the way some of these younger guys move compared to Bradberry, like, that's apparent on the perimeter. You don't want to be old at wide receiver, corner, and safety.
I think safety you could get away with it a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah.
But certainly not corner.
Yeah, not corner.
Yeah.
And also a position where it's like, unlike defensive line, you're not rotating. Like, those guys are just on the field. Like, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of being old on the defensive line, I would have loved to see more Brandon Graham on that last drive. I mean, there are 10 snaps on that last drive. The first 8, it was the standard 4 across.
And he had a sack in the game.
I know, and I mean, just rushing from the inside is something that he's been so good at throughout his career. So Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox get tired at the end of that drive. 8 snaps in a row that they had to play. And so who do the Eagles bring in? They bring in Milton Williams and Moro Ojomo. Ojomo was brought in on a 3rd and 10 as a standalone snap earlier in the game as well. He'd clearly been practicing this stunt that he did with Haason Reddick on both of those snaps. Just crazy usage to me. I mean, Brandon Graham did not play on the last 2.5 drives. He hadn't played since the 3rd quarter. He was fresh and clearly could have come in there as an interior rusher on that. I would have had him in maybe the entire drive. I mean, like as one of my main options, and definitely over Moro Ojomo. And there was no pressure on the quarterback that entire drive.
This is not a new thing to say, but it is just worth noting. Jordan Davis, last year's first-round pick, nowhere to be seen when you need pass rush. It's not ideal.
And not to kind of be simplistic here, but if there's anyone on that coaching staff who would know what Brandon Graham can do as an interior pass rusher, it would be Matt Patricia.
All right, Zach, why don't you tell us, I would say that anecdote you just gave us, given the book you wrote, was in your wheelhouse.
I like that. And real quick question for you, Deniz. If you if there was a favorite player you had in any sport when you were a kid, who would it be?
Mo Cheeks.
Mo Cheeks. Okay, so just imagine the joy you would have if you had a Mo Cheeks card. What would you think about that?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, at that age, I'm saying. Well, that's the joy that. That's the joy that you can get when you go to Wheelhouse.
I feel like if you're doing
you can tell we rehearsed this.
You got to produce.
We rehearsed this before the show.
You're going to be like a magician.
No, because Wheelhouse.
You can't just say, "What if I had that? What would you think about that?"
Well, that'd be so exciting, right? And I'm saying this is the time of year, right? Not to be sappy, but like when my son gets a gift or my daughter gets a gift, the great part is like seeing how happy they are, right? And where can you get that happiness is Wheelhouse Cards, because it is the go-to sports card gift and apparel shop in the Delaware Valley. Their motto, cards and community, because love of sports unites us all. They carry all of your favorite card brands like Topps Chrome Baseball and Mosaic Football, as well as t-shirts, hats, and hoodies from brands like Mitchell & Ness, 47 Brand, Junk Food, Starter, and Scheib. Vintage Sports, my personal favorite. Looking to grade your sports card collection, Wheelhouse offers PSA grading submissions. They also host tons of different family-friendly events and birthday parties every month. Stop into either of their stores, Wayne or Westchester. If you go to their Wayne one, you might bump into me. Open 7 days per week at 11 a.m. Use code PHLY. Get $10 off any purchase at $25 or more in store. Also, do what I did and follow them on Instagram at Wheelhouse Cards.
Who was your answer for that, Zach?
Well, Eric Snow was my favorite basketball player growing up. I had a good friend. I have a good friend who had a strong connection to the Sixers back then.
Okay.
And actually gave me once an Eric Snow signed basketball.
All right.
And and the joke was like everyone is always asking him for like Iverson or Mutombo.
Right.
I was the only one who wanted Eric Snow.
Our age difference is really showing there with the Mo
I feel like that would have been later,
Eric
a little bit later in your childhood, right?
That was more like middle school, high school. Yeah, Eric Snow. When I was much younger, I feel. I don't want to say something wrong.
Is this going to be O.J. Simpson again?
Lenny Dykstra.
Okay.
I like Lenny Dykstra. Matter of fact, I played the outfield and I used to pop my cheek out thinking that I was Lenny Dykstra.
Not with gum, just do it. You would just
I had nothing in there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Right,
and actually, one of the best compliments I ever heard was our high school baseball coach. One of our assistant coaches was a former, he was actually an all-star in 1995, Tyler Green. And he said one time, and I'm not exaggerating, he said when I was playing out there, he said, I reminded him of Lenny Dykstra. And to me, it was like, I could have.
All he meant by that is this kid is certifiably insane.
Maybe he meant that, but he meant because probably I spent so much time watching Lenny Dykstra that when I was out there in center field, like I was mimicking Lenny Dykstra. So he said, I reminded him of Lenny Dykstra. And you gotta, like, I would only get in the games when we were up like double digits in the late in the game, which actually flex happened pretty often, right? We were often up double digits. But he said that once that I reminded him of Lenny Dykstra, and I never forgot that.
Okay. And you've lived the rest of your life trying to repeat that since.
Yes.
In 1986, I was out with my. So I was 8 years old, and I was out with my family, parents, and some other friends at an Italian place in Old City, and Mo Cheeks was having dinner with his girlfriend, wife. I'm not sure. And
Don't get Mo Cheeks in trouble.
someone in our group like grabbed me by the arm, knew how much I loved Mo Cheeks, and was like, "I'm going to introduce you to Mo Cheeks." And we just, I mean, in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have done this, but like just rudely interrupted his dinner. And I still have a framed autograph from him, and it says, "To Deniz, best wishes and good luck." Signed, Mo Cheeks, number 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so good, so good. So,
And then real quick, the basketball answer to that, of course, Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King.
Of course.
Rob Pelinka off the bench, Dugan Fife. I can go on down the list, but the Fab Five.
All right, let's talk about the offense, Deniz, because as much as ugly as the defense has been, and as bad as they were in that final drive, I think fairly the criticism this week is more pointed on the offense, only putting up 17 points against a pretty underwhelming Seahawks defense. Some of the passing concepts, the stuff we were talking about at the end of the game. Where would you like to start? We want to talk about the RPOs?
Well, maybe we can just start by talking about how bad a game Monday was in terms of like the offensive staff and the quarterback. Like just looking at those, like it's been this discussion all week. Like, is the problem the coaching? Is the problem the quarterback? Is it something else?
And this is to me why I really think that it is so bad and so alarming, because they were coming off those 2 losses. It was, and
Right.
this was not a short week. They had an extra day.
Yeah.
All the stuff that was going on behind the scenes on defense. Okay, let's get the offense right. This is the week to put in our good stuff, to go out and prove who we are, and this is what they came out with.
Yeah, I mean the ingredients in this game. So the opposing defense was very bad. Coming in 26th in DVOA or whatever it was, they didn't do anything interesting schematically the entire game, and they dropped 8 once and blitzed 3 times maybe. Every other play was like a standard 4-man rush, cover 3, cover 4, whatever. The run game was working great. I mean, this was one of the best running game performances that we've seen all year. The Eagles spammed the inside zone fold play where Kelsey is pulling around. So they ran that play 6 times. I'll read the number of yards they got on it: 8, 11, 2, 9, 6, 8. That's consistently very good. They also had this insert lead play that they hadn't used before, where the tight end is the lead blocker going through the B gap. They ran that 4 times: 5, 5, 4, and 5. These are good numbers on early downs. So the run game was working. The pass protection was basically perfect. You had 0 quarterback hits the entire game. I don't know if anyone realizes this. Like, not only that, but there weren't really plays where Jalen had to, escape pressure or whatever. He got his foot stepped on by Jordan Mailata one time. That was the only time he was touched by anybody during the game the entire time. So to have all these things in your favor, and to have 10 drives in the game, this wasn't one of those games where there were only 7 drives or whatever. 10 drives in the game, 3 of them are in 2-minute drill, which 2-minute drives score more points on average than regular drives. So you've got 7 normal drives and 3 2-minute drives, and you come away with 17 points. I mean, that is awful. And it's like, what is it? Is it the scheme? Is it the quarterback? Unfortunately, it was a little bit of both, right? You had bad reads by Jalen. There's the play that everyone is, retweeting where Devontae Smith is running the open crosser. It was a rare time when the Eagles actually used motion in a way that did something. Quez Watkins runs motion. It confuses the nickel. 23, he's chasing the motion, and then he realizes, wait a second, I have Devontae Smith in man coverage here. Devontae Smith is wide open, and Jalen throws the out and up to A.J. Brown.
That's the Mailata steps on him play, right?
That is the step, yeah. So
That's
that
the pass
throw
on
was
the left
really
sideline.
short because he got stepped on.
That's
But
the pass to the left sideline?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, in third quarter. I thought that was a wrong decision. There was an RPO slant flat earlier in the game where Dallas Goedert is running the flat and the edge rusher is the conflict defender, and he just kind of forgets about Dallas Goedert. If he throws that thing to Dallas Goedert, it's probably a touchdown. Instead, he throws the slant. Like, just things like that where he's making the wrong read. And you're going to say, okay, every quarterback does that. And then you have the calls. right? So there's the McCaffrey play, right? The Christian McCaffrey play where he called that it was going to be quarterback draw. That's crazy to me. First of all, it was slightly different kind of play. I know you mentioned this on the show yesterday. It was a different kind of formation.
Just because it's
Sirianni made a big deal out of that.
different,
He's like,
like,
McCaffrey's a football genius if you realize that, because we've
never run that play out of that formation.
Like,
okay.
The real question
Guess
is,
what?
why are you running on 3rd and 6 in the red zone, right? And so, like, this is happening over and over again, where you're going from 3rd and 6 to 4th and 4 on that play. It wasn't exactly successful. What about after the false start? The Jason Kelce false start on the quarterback sneak. It makes it 3rd and like 5.5 or whatever, right? From the 8-yard line. And they run a standard inside zone run. It wasn't an RPO or anything. It was just a regular, straight up inside zone run.
And what's your explanation for that?
I mean, I do not have an explanation for this, and I decided to do a dive on this. Okay, and I looked up the following things.
Do a dive,
you guys were talking to Devon about the great show with Devon yesterday. By the way, he's awesome.
Agreed. Awesome.
You guys were talking about the red zone runs, and Bo, you were talking about how the offense seems to be
searching for the
trying to get to the sneak, right?
It's like they're not trying to get first downs; they're trying to get to the sneak.
Yeah. So this is what I looked at. I looked at runs on expected pass downs inside the 10-yard line. Okay. So this is 2nd and 5+, and then 3rd and 4th down and 3+. So in 2022, they ran 57% of the time on this, which was one of the highest in the league. But the runs were successful. They were successful on 52% of the runs, 38% of the passes in that situation. This year, that number is up to 67% of the time. They run in those situations. These are situations where some teams in the league wouldn't even think about running the ball. And you're going to say, well, they have the quarterback element.
The average pass rate must be like 65% or something like that.
At least.
Right.
And so this is, they're running the ball. They've run the ball 16 times in that situation. Only been successful on 4 of them. So this year they're not working either.
Right.
And when you look at it in more detail, this year on 3rd and 4th down with 3+ yards to go, they've run it 9 times and only passed 4 times. And the craziest one is when you do 3rd and 8 or more to go from inside the 10-yard line, they've had 4 situations, and they've run it on all 4 of them. They haven't passed the ball in a single one of those situations. So, Zach, you were saying like you didn't think this was like a big part of the problems on offense. I think it's really weird. I mean, it's just this weird thing where like the part of the playbook that has pass plays for 3rd down and goal from like the 8, 9, or 10-yard line, like someone's dog like ate that page or something. I mean, it's like insane to me that they keep running on this, and I've been tweeting about this all year. This isn't like just, like early in the season, like this was a pattern. That Kenny Gainwell run that like you guys asked Sirianni about. It's just been happening over and over again, and it's so weird to me that like the quarterback sneak is this like thing you're trying to get to.
It is. I mean, they are treating him like a rookie running quarterback who doesn't have any weapons. This is the guy you just paid all this money to. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. These guys who you are forcing to win one-on-one all the time just on their own merits, and you don't trust them to do that where it matters the most. It's bizarre.
Right. Yeah, so I have 2 comments here. First being that they were successful at this earlier this year, and they seemed to cling to this one play when they were able to get like a chunk play on a 3rd and long
which is a very Sirianni thing.
Yeah,
like, this thing has worked once before.
Yeah, he's like, you guys weren't asking me about this. I forget it might have been the Minnesota game or the Los Angeles game. It was earlier this year. And it is a very Sirianni thing to be like,
like a draw that worked or something?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, come on.
He's like, you guys weren't asking me when we gained a lot of yards on this. The second thing
very
is...
quickly, I will just to give this super chat shout out to Rich Bobby, who says, thank you, Bo and Zach. Love Devon and Handsome Rich this week. Deniz forever. A happy and healthy 2024 for us all. It's great to see Rich at Reading Terminal on Tuesday. Love Rich Bobby. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you to Rich, too. The most rewarding part of this job is the loyal audience that we have. So I'm very grateful for you and all the others, Rich. So the second part is it's kind of ironic that this fan base is clamoring for the Eagles to run the ball, and they defend the fact that they don't run the ball, except in the situations when they shouldn't run the ball is when they decide to run the ball. It's there is kind of like this oddity to them.
Right.
Yeah, third and medium and long for the league, like PFF has the stat where, like run rate above expectation or whatever. The Eagles are plus 13%. No other team is higher than like plus 6% or something. I mean, the Eagles are like the only team in the league that runs the ball in those situations. And I always watch the defensive coordinator's presser from the other team every week. It's always
Good for
interesting
you.
to
I was
watch
going to
other
say
teams.
maybe the most Zach Berman thing about
Yeah, well, you got to get ready for the opponent. And almost every defensive coordinator talks about how hard it is to prepare for the Eagles because they're a 50-50 run in those situations. And I was like, why is that hard? That's great. They're giving you a gift. Instead of having to cover A.J. Brown or Dallas Goedert in the red zone, all you have to do is stop a run on 3rd and 8. I mean, yeah, so all 4 of those runs, by the way, were unsuccessful this year.
I am, not to have an aside here, but I am fascinated by the difference in the way Professor Selman and I consume information. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I much prefer reading a transcript. Like if you give me a
interesting.
long transcript, I will read that. Professor Selman likes to watch the
I think
video.
it's much more interesting. I mean, this is a time thing. Obviously,
Yeah.
if you're going to squeeze in as much as you can,
Yes.
give me the transcript. But I think you're going to learn much more from watching.
Oh, for sure. But I'm a reader.
To
Yeah.
speed,
Your volume, yeah.
Times to speed while doing dishes. Defensive
Yeah.
coordinator presser is like a Thursday night standard activity.
No, but we were talking about about reading content versus watching content, and I'm still like, I still read all the clips and that kind of thing, but I'm not. I should probably listen to the opposing team's podcasts more often.
There you go. What is also sort of connected here is we can talk about the CPOE chart because they're sort of relying on Jalen to make difficult throws in other areas of the field, right? Like
Right.
low expectation completion throws elsewhere, but they just won't do it where it's condensed.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just it's weird to me. And
If
the
you wanna
other
pull up the that one tweet chart,
the
Julia, which we
CPOE,
have.
yeah. So like one of the things I think a play that would be a good play to kind of introduce this chart. So this chart is expected completion percentage on the horizontal axis, and then completion percentage over expectation on the vertical. And Jalen Hurts is all by himself up there to the upper left. Tommy Cutlets is all by himself to the bottom right, by the way. It's like a contrast. So one of the quarterbacks is only trying really easy throws and making them very poorly. That's DeVito.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are the two, the two, as Greg Cosell said this week, if Tommy DeVito, if you didn't know who he was, he would look just like Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. Him and Mahomes are just in a class by themselves.
Did you say that?
And yeah,
He didn't say that exactly.
so that it's the disturbing thing about this, and we talked about this last week as well, is that Jalen Hurts is attempting such low percentage passes. And I thought that there was a play in this game that was a really good example of the Eagles trying to scheme an easy throw that didn't work. So if we follow the pattern of the Eagles, like in these RPOs, 2021 was the year of the curl flat RPO. It was like this inside zone run with a curl flat on the backside. 2022 was the year of the slide corner RPO.
Yes.
And 2023 is like, it's like what's the new thing? We're still trying the slide corner, and it's not really working. It's like we added a wheel to it and kind of imitated the Dolphins and whatever. Teams are all over this. I mean, all over this. I know Fran and Greg Cosell were talking about this earlier this week. Were we allowed to talk about Greg Cosell on this?
I just said him. I just mentioned him.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
We talk about anybody.
pulled the Zach
Yeah.
on me.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
That's not a pull to Zach. Come on.
So yeah, I need to be a better listener. I'm not
The more you're here, the more you two just sort of morph into one another.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to
Wait till the playoffs.
I want Professor Selman's intelligence to rub off on me.
No, you flatter me, Zach. But
I spent too much time with Bo, so.
So there was a play in this game where they run that slide, the RPO slide, and it's supposed to go to A.J. Brown in the flat. And the nickel is just all over it. Like the nickel just completely leaves his guy and goes to slide, and he covers that. And the ball ends up going to Devontae Smith. This is the play where Jalen is like sprinting to his right, and he like squeezes it in a tight window, and Devontae Smith makes like this awesome catch, which, by the way, he almost gets beheaded by the corner, who Quez Watkins is supposed to be clearing out. Quez Watkins is just doing like high step jogging for some reason over there. Disaster.
It is wild how many snaps Quez played in that game, and to just watch how little he is bringing to little effort he's bringing to the table. Like not even doing the things he's supposed, like the very low effort thing.
It's awful. I think the lack of effort is really putting him in Jalen Reagor territory now. Like Reagor, when people were criticizing Reagor for dropping the ball. I was like, I'm criticizing him for like not blocking and like just not doing like the basic things that he's supposed to be doing, just low effort. And teams are actively ignoring Quez. So Sirianni says it changes the shape of the defense. I mean, there were at least 3 plays in this game where Quez is the outside receiver and either AJ or Devontae is on the inside. And from the very beginning of the snap, the outside corner just completely leaves Quez and basically double teams the better player there. And so if he's just going to be ignored, like how is he helping anything? And then we saw what happened obviously when they actually threw it to him. So
and this also goes back to something Bo brought up during the offseason. The Eagles didn't address that number 3 receiver spot.
I think this is a huge mistake.
Like if they draft Jalen Hyatt, who, by the way, the Eagles are going to see on the other sideline this week, and he was in your shadow draft for the Eagles. If they draft Jalen Hyatt in the 3rd round, let's say, or that would have been
that was the 3rd round
in the 3rd round, then you have kind of a wide receiver 3 to develop. Now Quez in year 4 is what he is. Julio they signed, even though I keep saying Julio is coming. I'm going to choose my words carefully here. He is
ejaculating.
No, he is.
Man,
he's not
no
being
nuance
consistent.
anymore.
And Alameda Zacchaeus is a he has 2 plays this year, and I like Zacchaeus, but there's a reason why I think they're playing Julio and Quez over him. So
you never see any effort issues with him though.
Yeah.
No, never.
And so it's crazy.
He should be the one who's
He's a
getting
Philly
the
guy.
majority of those snaps.
But I'm saying,
and he's a Philly guy.
But
That's
that
the real
could
reason.
have been solved, or at least look different if they did add a wide receiver.
Well, that is a good segue. Very quickly, just to close the book, the CPOA thing you were bringing up was the reason you were talking about that play is because that was supposed to be an easy play, and even the easy plays are difficult.
Exactly.
Right
and also this offense, big difference from last year. There's just no yak at all. I mean, like last year, the Eagles were 5th in yards before catch per completion and 6th in yards after catch per completion. So 5th and 6th. So they were good at both. This year, still 6th in yards before catch, all the way down to 25th in yards after catch. So this is like looking for differences between last year's team and this year's team. Yards after catch, they were getting 5.8 yards per after catch last year, 4.8 this year, a full yard less. And a lot of it is because of those, those plays like Hank, where it's just like stop routes or curl routes, that kind of thing, that aren't designed to get yak. And you look at the best offenses in the league, and they major in yak.
This is Dallas Goedert's numbers are down, all that stuff. But anyway, the reason, in my estimation, that the Eagles did not prioritize adding another wide receiving weapon, and it didn't have to be a 3rd round pick. It could have been a day 3 pick, just some guy to add to the mix, somebody with young legs, is because I believe they are extremely concerned about the dynamics between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, keeping both of those guys happy, getting everybody the targets that they need. And as you were ready
and
to
Dallas
point out...
Goedert there too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The disparity between, like the split between those two guys is much different this year than it was last year.
Yeah, and then this has kind of happened quietly in a way that I hadn't realized it was this dramatic. But last year, A.J. Brown was targeted on 24% of his routes, and Devontae Smith was targeted on 22% of his routes. So almost the same percentage. Very similar number of targets, 145, 136. Devontae Smith had more catches last year. If you recall, his 95 catches last year actually broke the record for Eagles wide receiver in catches for a season. A.J. Brown is at 95 now, so he's going to break that record on Monday. But this year, so again, last year, it was 24% for AJ, 22% for Devontae. This is targets per route run. This year, AJ's up to 27. Devontae's all the way down to 13.
That's bad.
So A.J. Brown is getting targeted on 27% of his routes. Devontae Smith on 13%. Devontae's run 30 more routes than A.J. Neither of these guys has missed any time. They all played every game both years. So these numbers are not skewed by anything like that. And it's got to be frustrating for Devontae Smith, especially on plays where he's running wide open for a first down and the ball is going over his head and incomplete.
He's too good a player, too consistent a player for that number to be the way it is. I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't aware of that number before you brought that up, and that is one of the more damning indictments of this offense, because you can't be maximizing your best players if Devontae Smith is only being targeted on 13% of his routes.
Right, exactly. And then one last thing on this is the motion. I know we've talked about this a lot, but I have some interesting numbers here on that. The Eagles have 29 targets all year to receivers who were in motion. The league average is 62. And then I looked at the top 6 players in the league in receiving yards. Like I didn't want to cherry pick like the ones who were getting
Sure.
yards in motion. This is the top 6 guys. So Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Puka Nacua. Those are the 6 guys leading the league in receiving yards coming into this week. And the percentage of their yards that come from motion is really funny. So Tyreek Hill, 280 yards from motion this year. That's 18% of his total.
Okay.
CeeDee Lamb, 173, 13% of his total. Keenan Allen.
Which is not even an offense you think of, like this is a Mike McCarthy offense.
Sure.
It's not like, he's not a Shanahan disciple.
Right, and
Like,
Lamb isn't their normal motion guy. Is the other part of that? Keenan Allen, 446 yards from motion this year. That's 36% of his total. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 230 yards from motion, 20% of his total. Puka Nacua, 199 yards. This isn't counting last night when he had a bunch more. 17% of his total. AJ Brown this year in motion, 2 catches on 5 targets for 16 yards. That's 1% of his 1,314 yards total. So, and it's not like, Devontae Smith has 46 yards for motion, right? So it's not like some other guy is doing the motion stuff. So we know the Eagles are 32nd in motion and all of that. But when you watch Puka Nacua make some of those catches in that game last night, clearly the motion is the thing that's getting him open. And the fact that that's just not being incorporated makes me think that we're going to have another one of these things where in the offseason they're going to bring in like a motion doctor to try to fix
Scango,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Motion Scango. I just got that. Rich Scangarello.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's get to Goose Wisely, and then we can talk some playoff scenarios after that, or maybe within that if we get there. Zach, you are down 2. I believe it's 7-5 on the season. So time for you to run the table to catch up before.
Well, there is a playoffs.
There's the playoffs, yeah. But I mean, the regular season is what matters.
Who goes first this week?
I can go first if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
First one. There is this game is being played on December 25th. There is a non-kickoff play run from the 25-yard line. Okay, and so this is not going to include, like, if you throw an incomplete pass after a touchback, that doesn't count. It's got to be within the flow of the game. There's a play on either 25-yard line or the Giants punt at least 6 times.
I wish I had the data to show how often the Giants punt 6+ times.
They are they're 31st in the league at avoiding punts. They punt 51% of the drives.
Okay, and you're probably getting 10 to 12 drives a game, right? So, you know what? I'm going to go the non-kickoff play run from the 25-yard line.
Okay.
Because even if the Eagles have a lead here, I think the Eagles are going to have a lead here, and the Giants might have to go for 4th downs.
Eagles only force punts on 35% of drives. They're 25th.
Okay.
I can always count on you with the numbers. I like that. Okay. Tommy DeVito rushes for more yards than Jalen Hurts, or Sidney Brown plays a higher percentage of snaps than Dallas Goedert receiving yards.
Ooh, good one. Now, DeVito, they lean heavily into DeVito. The Eagles should not need to run Jalen Hurts much in this game. But I also think both of these are likely. I would if this was a classic Zach and it was this happens or it doesn't happen, I would take both of these to happen. But I'm going to go with which is a higher percentage of happening. I'm going to say the Sidney Brown one. I think Sidney Brown is a part of the defense now.
Played 79% of the snaps last week, but if Avonte Maddox is playing, do the Eagles play more regular nickel and less big nickel? And also the Giants are very high, 11 personnel team.
I think they can play big dime, honestly, and have Sidney Brown as a quasi linebacker. I can see that.
All right. For you, Zach, I have Devontae Smith has either 100 yards receiving or at least 2 touchdowns. So he's got it's a big Devontae Smith game. Or Olamide Zaccheaus catches a pass. I
always like picking Devontae Smith, especially when they're going up against Giants and Brian Daboll, who was his former offensive coordinator at Alabama. But the threshold for OZ catching a pass is pretty low here. Like the threshold for me hitting this one. So I'm going to go OZ catches a pass.
Okay. Played 5 snaps last week.
He did, and I think that's something that they can look at.
Yeah.
Here you go. This is 2 guys that I've defended on this show. Josh Sweat has a sack, or Julio Jones has greater than 10 yards receiving.
Equally impactful in the game.
The standard for Julio coming has gone from 60 yards to 10 yards.
Yes. And it has to be greater than. If he hits 10, it's not sufficient enough.
I'm going with Josh Sweat has a stat.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, Julio Jones had his second best game as an Eagle last week. He had one catch and it was for like 8 yards.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay. So you don't even think he hits? Oh, you only think he gets to 11, which is
Now this is a full sack for Sweat.
full sack.
We got to clarify.
Yeah, half a sack doesn't do anything.
Going against their best offensive lineman and Andrew Thomas.
I'm still taking Josh Sweat.
Josh Sweat will tell you he's sick of effing almost. He wants almost doesn't do him any good anymore.
Sorry for almost. All right. The broadcast, Zach, mentions snowballs and Santa Claus.
Okay.
Or there was a shot during the game of either DeVito's parents or his agent wearing a Santa hat in the stands.
It's not Greg Olson, right? It's like the Moose.
I can tell you right
I think it's
who
Moose.
It is Joe Davis, Daryl Johnston,
Yeah.
with Pam Oliver on the sideline.
Yeah, Moose is likely to do some Christmas nonsense. Santa
Well,
Claus
so
nonsense.
here's the thing. It's not going to snow on Monday, right? So the snowballs, now maybe you can bring that up as a Christmas memory.
There will be people dressed as Santa for sure, though.
Good point. I don't think DeVito's parents or Sean Stiletto will be wearing a Santa hat. So I'm going to go with the broadcast and mentioning the snowballs.
Okay.
But I don't feel strongly about either one of those.
I feel like DeVito's dad's going to wear a Santa hat. But
What about his agent?
I feel that.
Does his agent have like a Santa version
he's gonna
of
wear,
his?
He's going to be dressed like Dominic the Donkey.
Brian Brayman's former agent, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's Ross Tucker's hometown.
Okay, Saquon Barkley has the most total yards in the game. So either team.
From scrimmage?
Yes. Or Boston Scott scores a touchdown. The Giants killer Boston Scott.
Ooh, good one.
Just as a bit, Boston
Yeah.
Scott's going to
Yeah.
get the ball in the red zone.
Nick seems to lean into those.
Nick is in on this.
There's
bit.
no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I was on Giants radio yesterday.
in for the tush
and
push.
I got a Boston Scott question. And I was like, far be it for me to give Joe Shane any advice, but he was a free agent this offseason. Giants could have signed him.
I'm going to go with the Boston Scott one.
Okay.
I mean, obviously they're going to give the ball to Saquon a lot, but the fact that a receiver could top this production, and I think the Eagles' whole defensive game plan is going to be about stopping Saquon. So, all right, last one for you, Zach. The Eagles score on a possession that starts with under 1 minute left in either the first half or the end of the
So
game.
2-minute offense.
So, what we saw them not be able to do last week. Or the Eagles throw a pass on third down in the red zone.
Eagles throw a pass on third down in the red zone. I understand the humor behind the question, but I'm going with Eagles throw a pass, and that's going to be my golden goose as well.
Okay.
This one is a shout out to the professor sitting here. And real quick, make sure you are following him on Twitter at Deniz_Selman. Because he's giving
That is not my Twitter.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know what that is, but don't follow that.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It is DENIZ.
That's right. Deniz, sorry.
SELMAN 33.
Yes, yes. Deniz_Selman. Oh, I'm sorry. Deniz Selman.
I'm just
33.
gonna keep saying that.
You can follow Bo at Bo_Wulf. I apologize for that. I was conflating the two. Yes. There you go. Thank you, Julia. Awesome job putting that in the chat. But for our audio listeners, Deniz Selman 33.
Yeah, I will be humble about most things involving like knowing about, like what I'm talking about on here, but I am not humble about playoff scenarios. Do not follow anyone else for playoff scenarios. Come to me if you have any questions about playoff scenarios in either conference.
Exactly. And I know we're going to get into it, so this is a good transition too, because the final one here is the Eagles win and the Cowboys lose, or the Eagles win and the 49ers lose. The Cowboys are playing the Dolphins, and Mike McDaniel said that if any reporter asks them about any game, about anything other than the Cowboys, they can respectfully say to F off, okay? And the 49ers are playing the Ravens in what is being billed as a Super Bowl preview.
The Niners are 5.5-point favorites in that game, and the Cowboys are 1.5-point underdogs. So I'm gonna lean on Vegas, and I will take the Eagles win and the Cowboys lose. But I think the Ravens have a good chance to win that game. But I'll take the odds, and I will make that my golden goose as well.
Okay, and then my golden goose, of course, is that the Eagles attempt a third down pass in the red zone.
Okay, Deniz. Scenarios wise, what do we need to know about this?
Yeah,
week?
so the Cowboys losing would not actually be that big a thing the way things stand right now, and the reason is, Julia, if you have the graphic on the strength of victory, the NFC East standings right now are on the screen, and you might think like those don't look like NFC East standings. Well, the thing is, if the Eagles and Cowboys both win out, then the NFC East winner will be whichever team ends up with more of the following. The Eagles need Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Arizona's total wins to be more than the Jets, the Chargers, Carolina, Seattle, and Detroit's total wins. Those are the 5 uncommon wins that the two teams have. So strength of victory would come down to this, and you can see the remaining schedules. The games highlighted in green there are ones where they are head-to-head, so they are like doubly important games because either one or the other team's going to get it. The Eagles currently have a 34-29 lead in this race, and so it should be safe. It should be the case that if both teams win out, the Eagles will win the NFC East, but it is a little bit weird that it's not in their control. I mean, if Carolina goes on a win streak here, that could give Dallas the NFC East. So it's one of these things where it's going to come down to this. Now, if each team loses a division game, Eagles to the Giants and Dallas to Washington, it'll basically be
Julia,
this again
with the small box here.
It'll basically be exactly this thing again. I should get a pointer and point to them.
No,
it'll basically be this if that's the case. However, if Dallas loses to Miami or to Detroit, and the Eagles lose a game, it doesn't matter to who, then the tiebreaker flips. It becomes Dallas's tiebreaker, and the reason is that
even the Cardinals.
Yes,
okay.
And the reason is that if the Eagles lose to the Giants, obviously it would be division record, right? But if the Eagles lose to Arizona and Dallas loses to, say, Miami, because that's a non-conference game, Dallas would now win NFC record tiebreaker, and that's before the strength of victory. If they lose to Detroit, it's the common opponent's tiebreaker, which is actually ahead of NFC. Detroit is an uncommon game, and so that would be an uncommon loss for Dallas, whereas Arizona is a common game. Dallas lost to Arizona as well.
Okay.
Right.
And so that would give Dallas the common opponent's tiebreaker. So basically, each team dropping a game, unless Dallas is dropping the game to Washington, will switch the tiebreaker to Dallas. It will go away from the strength of victory thing, which the Eagles have the advantage in, which makes the Eagles' games really important and Dallas's game's not quite as important. So it's not the kind of thing where if Dallas loses on Sunday, it'll be like, okay, the Eagles have breathing room now.
Right.
That is not the case. Like, the Eagles have to keep winning in order for the strength of victory thing to give them the division. A Dallas loss will not mean that, okay, now that they lost, we can lose too. The only loss that would be true for is if they lose to Washington, and that's week 18 anyway. So, and it's the least likely game for them to lose.
So that was a terrific explanation, and the way I interpret it is that if the Eagles win the division, they have Jonathan Gannon to thank. Correct?
No, I don't think that is the
because the.
By the way, you know what is very funny is every like third down thing you look at where the Eagles are dead last, Arizona's 31st.
Yeah, exactly. Gannon is
all the
there.
third and long stuff. It's like it's very funny.
Right.
But what my biggest takeaway from this is, unless Dallas loses the next two games, like the Eagles are going to have to play their guys.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're going to have to play their guys all 3 weeks.
And we're going to have to play their guys anyway because of the race with Detroit as well for the 2 seed. So that's my next thing for this. Unfortunately, the loss to Seattle, as I explained on the show last week, means that the Eagles have a second loss to a common opponent with Detroit. Detroit only has one such loss. They also lost to Seattle. And that gives the Lions that tiebreaker. So right now, the Lions control the 2 seed. If the Lions win, they're Minnesota, Dallas, Minnesota. If they win those 3 games, Detroit will be no worse than the 2 seed. The Eagles, in order to catch Detroit, need Detroit to lose a game.
So the Eagles should root for Dallas in the Dallas-Detroit game. Eagles fans should.
If Detroit doesn't lose this week,
yes,
then that Detroit-Dallas game almost surely is one where it would be better for the Eagles for Dallas to win rather than Detroit win.
Fascinating.
Exactly. Like a Dallas loss is less likely to make the difference there because of what we talked about earlier,
right.
Whereas a Detroit loss would make it such that the Eagles would be able to pass them in the standings. Now,
that's worth the price of admission right there.
Exact opposite scenario with the Eagles-Dallas tie, by the way. If the Eagles and Detroit each drop a game, now the common opponents thing will be tied because all of Detroit's remaining games are against common opponents. They play the Vikings and Dallas, who the Eagles played both of them. And so that would be tied, and then that would also go to strength of victory. And the strength of victory race with Detroit is very tight. It's not clear like who would win. That would actually come down to like the Patriots-Jets Week 18 game or something like that. So that could be a fun way to determine the 2 seed.
All right. Good stuff. That was very
49ers
helpful.
could still lose twice too. I'm not giving up hope on that. I think there's a lot of recency bias in the way the league is followed, and it's like the 49ers are never going to lose a game again, and the Eagles are never going to win a game again. That's not how this league works, and I think there's still a chance for San Francisco.
I read an article yesterday arguing that Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy should be co-MVPs this year.
I saw a man peeing on the street. I mean, like, equally meaningful. Like,
Hopefully they'll be MVP and lose in the second round, like another MVP we know.
all right, Zach. Let's
Did
get
you
to.
actually see a man peeing on the street, or you just say that?
I mean, not yesterday. Okay. Let's get to our crystal ball dealer predictions for the game on Monday night.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
Christmas night football. Looking forward to that.
Late afternoon.
Late afternoon.
Evening. Yeah,
late afternoon, evening. The Eagles, big favorites here. 13.5-point favorites.
It's too much, man.
Okay. The over-under is 43. So that goes to show you how much better Vegas thinks the Eagles are.
How
than
little
the
respect
Giants.
they have for the Giants offense, basically.
Yeah.
Against this terrible defense.
And I'm with them there. Okay. The Eagles are the superior team. I had a line in my story, in my column off of the game, that 3 weeks ago, the dialogue about the Eagles was a lot different. 3 weeks from now, the dialogue about the Eagles could be different, unless you think all that matters is how they perform against good teams, and I wouldn't dispute that. Okay? I think this is a get-right game on both sides of the ball. The Eagles have some time. They had some time here. It's a Monday to Monday, which is pretty rare coming off a Monday game, right? Usually you're in a short week. They're at home. I think even with the merited frustration from the fan base, I think this is going to be a jacked up crowd. I think this is going to be a crowd that, people have off of work. They're going to enjoy Christmas morning. They're going to come to the stadium. A little spiked eggnog is that, they're going to enjoy their eggnog and they're going to have a good time.
I like how self-satisfied you were with spiked eggnog.
I've never had eggnog before. Is it good?
Yeah, eggnog's good.
Okay,
I like an
yeah,
eggnog.
I've never had eggnog. I mean, I have this misconception that it's like it's like what Rocky's drinking when he's drinking the egg yolk.
Yeah, not the same.
Not the same. Okay, yeah, never had eggnog, but there's people are gonna have their eggnog. They're gonna be fired up, and it's gonna be a pretty rowdy crowd from the beginning. Jalen Hurts, who I think is the biggest reason why the Eagles are struggling, has a better game against the Giants, against the coach who demoted him at Alabama. Okay, so Sean Desai and Jalen Hurts can be kindred spirits there. I am.
That's, I hadn't thought about that. Desai's situation is very Hurts-like.
Because Jalen had to stick around.
Yeah. He also wasn't allowed to go anywhere. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I think the Eagles win, but I am not quite picking them to cover here. 13.5 is a big number, and unless it's like Alabama versus Alabama A&M, I very seldom go with the favorite in these big lines. So give me Eagles 28, Giants 16.
Okay.
Which is not a cover, which is crazy.
Yeah,
I think the Eagles are going to win this game comfortably, but also look not great doing it. I think the Giants are that bad. I think the Eagles defense will be made to look okay against this DeVito offense. I think the offense is still going to struggle a little bit. We know we're going to get all kinds of blitzes from this Wink Martindale defense. We'll see. We will see if they have changed anything about their zero blitz strategy in this game, which has not been great so far this season. But I think just over the course of the game, they'll be able to run the ball on the Giants, and I'm going to say 24-13 is the Eagles win.
So you don't have the Eagles covering
I also
either.
don't have them covering, yes.
Eagles handled all those blitzes really well last year against Martindale. I think it's good to, it's a familiar opponent. They're a little different this year. They played an insane amount of dime and dollar last year. Like dollar was like a big thing. They're not doing any of that anymore. They're just playing normal nickel. But
Deontay Banks. I like it, Deontay Banks. So we'll see how he does against A.J. Brown. All right. I promised one more.
Oh, gosh.
Tommy, I was about to say Ben DiNucci. One more Tommy DeVito special treat here for all the sickos who stuck around. I'm trying to think who can give us a proper scouting report on Tommy DeVito, this New Jersey Italian. Well, let's find out. All right. It's time to go, they say behind enemy lines. We got to get the scouting report. We got Tommy DeVito, the New Jersey Italian who is sweeping the state by storm. Who do we know that can give us the right flavor of analysis on a New Jersey Italian? There's only one person that comes to my mind, Lisa Murray, who the sickos will know as Marissa Dunn's mom, grandmother to Madison, mother-in-law to Michael. Lisa, what a backdrop you have. Zach is going to be jealous. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making time. Zach is going to be very jealous about this whole thing. Tell us, Tommy DeVito, yay or nay from your perspective?
Oh, it's 100% a yay from my perspective. I mean, what's not to like? He's the underdog, number one. He's Italian, number two. All the social media hype around him, and it's really amazing. Like the Giants have not had the best season, and to rally around something positive, and it's kind of fun. Every time I see something on social media, I send it to my siblings, and we kind of get a laugh. It brings out the whole Italian thing. And,
yeah. What's an example of one of your favorite in one of those clips?
I think one of my favorite was Jimmy Fallon, and he says that's amore, and he sings that's DeVito.
Some people might think that that's like, has anybody ever done a song parody of an Italian quarterback before who's a division rival of the Eagles? I don't know if he's stealing that from anybody, but I guess, good job by Jimmy. How do we feel about the celebration?
Oh, I think that's cute. That's cute.
And his parents, we're in on his parents?
Well, I think it's awesome that 200 people were at that game. Like I feel like everybody rallies around, that's an Italian thing, like when somebody does good, everybody does good.
Okay. Now the Eagles are playing DeVito on Christmas. So are we assuming that he's going to be like full from a Feast of the Seven Fishes type deal? Is that going to be an advantage Eagles?
Oh, I don't know.
What is on the menu for you this holiday season?
Oh, it's kind of like what's not on the menu.
Okay.
Because we have all the seven fishes, the old traditional stuff, and then we have a lot of like modern day vegans and vegetarians, and so we incorporate everything for everybody.
Are you, and how much of the cooking are you doing?
I usually make lasagna, meatballs, all the things my mom would make. Those are my duties.
Okay. Now, they're making a big deal in the DeVito story about how he's still staying at home with his parents, like, sleeping at home. I know somebody else who's familiar with having an NFL player stay in their house in New Jersey.
I made a joke. That was one of my cracks to my siblings. I was like, what's this big deal about DeVito living at home with his mom? I said, I got a whole family living with me that's been playing in the NFL for 5 years.
And he's not even an offensive lineman. They don't have to feed him what you have to feed Michael.
Yeah, I love it though. That's what Italian moms do.
This is going to be like a real heartwarming treat for the old school sickos here. They're gonna want me to ask how is Madison doing? What's your scouting report on Madison?
She's a doll. She smiles 24/7. She is the happiest baby ever, and she's a ham like her mother, and she talks a lot like her mother.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's pretty good.
She has her dad's easygoing personality, so it's kind of a nice mix.
And his pass sets as well. We'll find out. We'll find out one day. It has been we got lots of playing time from Michael. The Browns have been a feel good story. I would say better feel good than DeVito, maybe longer lasting. It has been fun to watch.
Yes, it's always fun. And you know what? In Michael's case, everybody rallies around Michael, just like DeVito's family rallies around him.
There you go.
Yeah.
Any final DeVito thoughts? Are you going to be rooting for DeVito, or are you going to be rooting for your old friends with the Eagles?
I kind of
It's okay.
I kind of like to root for, I like the underdog, but I like the Eagles mostly because of you guys.
Well, we'll take that. Now,
Yeah.
Zach's going to be upset he didn't get to talk to you. Do you have anything to say to Zach?
I hope he had
I'm
a
with you.
nice.
There's not much to
I
say to
hope
him.
he had a nice holiday too. With his family, and he has all the siblings like I do. So
That's right.
so I'm sure they had a nice holiday as well.
All right.
So,
Well,
and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I missed him.
he will be sorry too. Lisa, thank you for letting us bother you for a few minutes. A wonderful backdrop. Thank you for the insight. Happy holidays. And as always, we love you.
And happy holidays to you and your family as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
That was awesome.
Thank you to Lisa.
Yes.
What a pleasure.
Only thing better would be is if we spoke to Marissa, but yeah,
You got to throw Lisa under the bus right that quickly just because she said she had nothing to say to you?
Unbelievable.
No.
This thing goes in both directions, generation-wise. It was like, what was it like to see the baby? And Zach's like, well, it was much better to see Marissa than the baby.
Well, yeah.
I was like, well, that was fine, but it would have been better to see Marissa.
I stand by that, but it was awesome seeing Mrs. Murray. But yeah, I miss seeing Marissa. That's all I was saying.
Okay, well, continue the entire lineage, as Deniz says, continues to take shots from Zach. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. Thank you to Lisa Murray. Thank you to Marissa for being in the chat. Thank you to Jason at Farina DeVita. Thank you to Julia and Chris. Chris put that whole thing together. Fantastic job. Turned it around quickly. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to Deniz for being here. Thank you, Zach. Happy holidays to everybody who is a sicko. And we will talk to you on Christmas Day for the kickoff show. Devon Givens is going to be joining me in studio. And then, of course, after the game, we'll have the post-game show with Zach live from Lincoln Financial Field. All good stuff as the Eagles try to turn this thing around. So for all of us here, we thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you on Monday. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.